Hi everyone, welcome to World Affairs in Context. Do me a favor now and take a second to follow the podcast, just in case, on Substack at worldaffairsandcontext.com. You will find the link in the description below. As expected, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates today by a quarter percentage point to a range of 4.5% to 4.75%. This was a lot less of an aggressive move compared to the previous 50 basis point rate cut in September. Now, before we get into the specifics of Jerome Powell's commentary on the economy, I want to share with you something that I personally found quite interesting, quite shocking to be honest. Fed Chair Jerome Powell played really tough today during the press conference following the FOMC meeting, and he stated that he would not resign as Fed chief if President Trump, once he takes office, asked him for his resignation, adding that the president does not have the legal power to fire or to demote him, and therefore he would stay regardless.
Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
In addition to that, Powell also commented that in the near term, the election would have no effects on the Fed's policy decisions. So it seems that Jerome Powell loves his job so much, and why wouldn't he, that he would actually refuse to leave it. Given where the U.S. economy is today, I would argue that Powell may have some self-reflection to do, possibly. The Fed has been assigned two goals for monetary policy: maximum employment and stable prices. With the labor market sounding alarm and inflation still being very far from that target rate, Jerome Powell's take on the situation is just a tiny bit surprising. All right, let's start with the key takeaways from the FOMC statement that was made today on November the 7th. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. Since earlier this year, labor market conditions have generally eased, and the unemployment rate has moved up but remains low. Inflation has made progress towards the committee's 2% objective but remains somewhat elevated. As we know, there is data that indicates otherwise. Literally every single statement that I just showed you that was made by the Fed today in this first paragraph could be challenged. So let's begin with the most important one, the labor market, of course. The Fed just told us that labor market conditions have generally eased. Those are the words that the Fed used. However, as I shared previously, October added only 12,000 jobs, mostly government jobs, absolutely insignificant number in and of itself, and it will likely be revised down. In October, we had two downward revisions. August was revised down by 81,000 jobs, from 159,000 to only 78,000 jobs that were actually added during the months. And then September was revised down by 31,000 jobs, from 254,000 to 223,000 jobs. The second point that I would like to make is that layoffs have been increasing, and that is a major red flag. As you know, the share of workers voluntarily quitting their jobs dropped to 1.9% in September, which represents the lowest reading since the 2020 timeframe. This is the lowest level in 9 years and the largest decline since the 2008 financial crisis. The hiring rate also decreased from 4.6% to 3.5%. Again, the lowest level since April of 2020. Having said that, I don't exactly know what data the Federal Reserve is using to conclude that U.S. labor market conditions eased. They eased in a sense that labor market has slowed down to the point where we need to be very concerned, because this is just the beginning. There were 7.4 job openings in the United States in September, the lowest number of openings since January of 2021. The Federal Reserve did indicate that the economic outlook is uncertain. Of course, I wouldn't argue with that statement. I think that statement is a very diplomatic way to describe the current conditions. The Fed also announced that in addition to rate cuts, it will continue reducing its balance sheet. It says here that it will further reduce holdings of Treasury securities and agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities. The committee is also strongly committed to supporting maximum employment, it says, and returning inflation to its 2% objective. So nothing new there. Balance sheet reduction in theory helps control inflation, and it should have positive effects on the economy. However, what we see here is the fact that the Federal Reserve isn't really focusing on money supply, is focusing on interest rates, and that is an issue. Now, let's quickly chat about Fed Chair Jerome Powell's comments that he shared during the press conference following the meeting. I have the transcript of his remarks right here for you. The economy is strong overall, said Powell, and has made significant progress towards our goals over the past 2 years. The labor market, he says, has cooled from its formerly overheated state, and it remains solid. Jerome Powell says, in the labor market, conditions remain solid, and in case you haven't noticed, inflation has eased significantly over the past 2 years. Now, going back to the labor market, I find that commentary to be very, very surprising, to say the least, and here's why. In October, the U.S. economy lost 28,000 private jobs. This represents the first net loss since December of 2020. The labor market is in a much worse shape than the official commentary suggests. We know that very well. Private sector jobs declined by 1.5 million compared to October of 2023. So this is a year-over-year decline, and it is absolutely, absolutely frightening. Before 2019, the average of payroll additions was approximately 150,000 jobs per month. Now we have a negative loss. So I will just leave it here. I think that we made very good progress. We went over the FOMC meeting itself. We also went over Jerome Powell's key takeaways from his commentary during the press conference. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this quick video helped put Fed Chair Powell's commentary in perspective and make more sense of his words. I hope that I helped add just a tiny bit of clarity. Please remember to show your support. It truly goes a long way. Like, subscribe, and share. For more content, make sure that you check out my alternative social media channels. You will find them linked in the description below, as always. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye for now.